السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين. اللهم معلم إبراهيم علمنا ومفهم سليمان فهمنا. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. So alhamdulillah, we continue from line number 35 in the study of this poem in the science of Hadith, in Mustalah al-Hadith. The author, he says, وإن يكن راويه يقصد الكذب فذلك الموضوع طرحه يجب وربما أطلق فيما اتفق فيه بلا قصد لأن يختلقا. He says, the next terminology that he mentions is about موضوع. In the last lesson we took اعتبار. What was اعتبار? Quickly. اعتبار. It's a long break.
It's the process of looking for...
أحسنت. It's the process of looking for
the different supporting hadith.
أحسنت. Supporting طرق, chains of narration for a shahid or mutaba'at. أحسنت. So that process is called اعتبار. So the next one is موضوع. What is موضوع? موضوع is a fabricated hadith. A fabricated hadith. Meaning this hadith is not authentic, it's fabricated, someone made it up. Okay? And so he says here, the hadith that is mawdu' is the hadith that a narrator's in it, in the chain of narration, a rawi, a narrator that is a liar. That is a liar. And so if we go to the board, it's nice and easy. الموضوع. We have, for example, we have the text. Then we have the so-called Sahabi for this text. Then the student, we just say narrator. Then a narrator. Then a narrator. And then the book that it was mentioned in. Okay. In this hadith, let's say it says that there is a fabricated hadith that mentions the Safina of Nuh, the Ark of Noah, made tawaf around the Kaaba. Okay? Is hadith authentic or fabricated? It's fabricated. How do we know? First of all, the text. Like, and secondly, in the chain, this narrator here is referred to as a kadhab, a liar. He is known to be someone that lies upon the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So they say kadhab, sometimes they will refer to as a wadha', someone that places fabricated a hadith. And so this text is completely rejected. Why? Because it's fabricated, it's completely made up. And the narrator that is kadhab or wadha' is the main reason for that. Even though the text as well, there's ways to figure out if it's mawdu' or not from the text itself, but mainly every hadith that is mawdu' from the text is also mawdu' because of one of the narrators. Is that clear? Any questions? No questions? Clear? Simple? طيب. الموضوع, the hadith that is mawdu', that is fabricated, is the worst level in terms of, if you look at weak ahadith in terms of ordering, the worst category is mawdu'. There's nothing lower than mawdu'. Okay? And ulama have wrote books in this topic of hadith that are mawdu'a. There are many books that have been compiled in that way. They gather a hadith that are mawdu'a. طيب. Then he says, وَإِن يَكُنْ مُتَّهَمًا Nuh, can you do the live stream? It's not working on my phone. Have you got it? Okay. طيب. He says, وَإِن يَكُنْ مُتَّهَمًا بِهِ فَقَطْ فَذَلِكَ الْمَتْرُوكُ عِنْدَ مَنْ فَرَض. The next category or terminology is al-matruk. Now, al-matruk is a little bit different from mawdu'. It's still very bad, but it's a bit better than mawdu'. And it's the person, the narrator, that is accused of being a liar. He is muttahamun bil kadhib. He is accused of being a liar. So the first one, mawdu', there is a narrator that is actually a liar. He lies on purpose on the Prophet ﷺ for whatever reason that he gives. Some of the people that have been caught lying, they said they did this to aid their madhab and their belief, whether it was a sect like the Qadariya or other than them, the Rafida, that they will fabricate a hadith to try and make their beliefs right and support their beliefs with a hadith that they're fabricated, and then they get caught out. And then we also have people that are they do virtuous actions and they want people to perform virtuous actions, but they end up lying on the Prophet ﷺ to try and make people do these virtuous actions. So they say, for example, praying Allah is good or fasting voluntary, and to encourage the people, I made up a hadith. I'm not lying upon the Prophet ﷺ, I'm lying for the Prophet ﷺ, they say. And this is talbis iblis. This is the covering and the whispering and the plots of shaitan. So this is clear cut, the liar. Then we have the second category here, matruk. Matruk is if there is a chain of narration that has someone that is accused of being a liar. What's the difference between someone that's accused and someone that is a liar?
The one who's been accused, there's no evidence to it. I mean, there's no backing to it. But the one who is a liar, there's evidence to support.
Hassan, in the court of law, yes, but here in the science of hadith, that's not the exact definition I'm looking for. Well, good try.
Someone who hasn't been caught lying about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Say again, there's someone that
hasn't been caught lying about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Okay, if he hasn't been caught, then why would you accuse him of being a liar?
Because he lies about all things.
Ahsant. طيب. Well, they only got like 10 seconds to write. So here we've established the mawdu' is if there is a kadhab. The matruk al-matruk, and it means someone that's abandoned. Someone or a hadith that is abandoned. Why is it abandoned? Because in it, I'm going to give the answer now, so none of the sisters have answered yet. Let's see. No, don't. It's the one who has been accused of being a liar but hasn't been confirmed, but something about him has indicated this. Along the line, same as the first person. A person who have made lied in the past. Okay, so what's the difference between someone that is a kadhab and someone that's matruk? Someone that is, the hadith is mawdu' and someone the hadith is matruk. Here we said the first one lied upon the Prophet ﷺ. Like the second one, did they lie upon the Prophet ﷺ? If they didn't lie, why are they accused of it? Along the lines, but I'm missing one thing that the brother got. So I'll give a chance later on, inshallah. طيب. So what did the brother say? And it hasn't been confirmed he lied? Ahsant. So the difference is, the matruk here, so here we have a person that is muttahamun بالكذب. Meaning, he hasn't lied on the Prophet ﷺ. It's not been confirmed that he ever lied on the Prophet ﷺ. But he's known to be a liar. Why is he accused? Because he's known to be a liar in other than the Prophet ﷺ. So this is important. So some of the sister brothers mentioned that he's proven to be a liar, but they forgot the important point of he's not proven to be a liar on the Prophet ﷺ. He never lied on the Prophet ﷺ in the religion. But when he's buying and selling or this or that, he always lies. He's known to be a liar. And so because he's known to be a liar in the normal affairs, he's on a red line as well of he's accused of he could have transgressed and maybe lied on the Prophet ﷺ. It's not confirmed, but that's why he's abandoned. Is that clear?
Is there a difference between someone who's lied maybe once, or someone else who lies often?
على كل حال, someone that is known to be a liar. If he's once, then he's not known to be a liar. Someone that is known amongst the people, he lies. So whether that's a small lie or a major lie, but he lies. As for one and no one knows, they make tawbah between you and Allah. But here we're talking about what's ma'roof bayn al-nas. So that's the difference between the two. Muttahamun bil kadhib is someone that is proven to be a liar in everything but the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So he's accused of it. So his hadith is matruk. His hadith is abandoned. So if we got this narrator, wherever he narrates, we don't accept it. And this is still at a very weak level. It's just over the fabricated, but it's still very weak because he's a liar. And we said the liar goes against which condition? Being trustworthy, being someone that is thiqa, someone that is ameen, trustworthy. طيب, let's go back to the... He says, so that's mawdu' and that's matruk. There are other definitions for matruk, but we won't take it at this level. And then he says, وَمَا رَوَى فَاسِقٌ أَوْ غَافِلٌ أَوْ ذُو غَلَطٍ فَحُشَ مُنْكَرًا دَعَوْا. He says, whatever has been narrated here, the next terminology is munkar. And he mentions 3 things that come under the word munkar. So what is munkar? Any hadith that is narrated by, number 1, a fasiq, someone that is an open sinner, open habitual sinner. Yani someone that drinks alcohol, someone that, for example, is seen doing things that are haram with the opposite gender publicly, flirting with women and the likes of these affairs. Fisq is zahir, is openly apparent upon him. It's not something that he fell into once at home by himself and no one knows about. No, fisq is something that is zahir. So if a hadith is narrated by someone that is a drunkard or someone else that's involved in sins openly, then his hadith is munkar. That's the first one. Then he mentions, oh, ghafilun. Ghafilun is someone that is heedless. So fasiqun, someone that is sinful, openly sinful, it goes against trustworthiness, right? Adala. But someone being ghafil, heedless, it goes against having good precision. Ghafil is someone that doesn't know what they're narrating. Okay? They will mix this name, Amr, with Danar, with Khair, with Hayr. He will mix up the names. He's ghafla, and it's not like one off, it's kathir, it's a lot. He's heedless. And then he mentions dhu ghalatin fahush, or someone who has many mistakes. Someone who has many mistakes. Like, let's say out of 100%, 75% of everything he narrates is wrong. Like we said, if someone you attended something occurred, an event or something happened, and everyone's recollecting what happened, or they've been told by the police, you guys are witnesses, tell us what happened. So you got one friend that just completely flips the script and he adds things and he takes things away, and 75% of what he's telling of what happened in that event didn't even take place. That is someone that is fahusha ghalatuhu. His mistakes are too many to bear. And so if he narrates a hadith, he will completely change it up until it's almost unrecognizable. And so these 3, their hadith is munkar. The hadith is munkar. Fasiq, open sinner. Ghafil, someone that's heedless, too heedless, to the point that it affects their precision, and someone that has too many mistakes. Everything they narrate, almost every hadith they have, there's a mistake in it, whether it's the narrator, whether it's the text, or other than that. So that's munkar. Everyone with me? I don't think we need to write that on the board, that's clear. So any narrator, just like that in the middle, there's one of these three in the chain, then it becomes hadithun munkar. Munkar is a hadith that is rejected. Then he says, it could also be said, second definition for munkar, he mentions here, وَقَدْ يُقَيَّدُ بِمَا خَالَفَ مَا لِثِقَةٍ وَذَا بِمَعْرُوفٍ سَمَا. He says that it could also be referred to, munkar, with the same meaning as shadh. What was the definition of shadh? Guys don't remember? Shadh. Sisters, what was the definition of shadh?
Is it one of the narrators isn't trustworthy?
When a narrator is not trustworthy? La. We didn't cover shadh yet. Okay. Tamam. So munkar here, say again? Say again? It was by mahfuz. We did mahfuz, right? We did it? Okay. Okay, let's do munkar first. So let's say we have a hadith here, same chain. So we have three narrators here on the right, in the middle to the right, and on the left we have another narrator here. Now this narrator on the left in blue, he narrates something wherein he goes against these three narrators. All of them, they share the same what? The same what? The same end? Same teacher. They all share the same teacher, so they were all in the same lesson. He narrated it the same as he narrated it, and he narrated the same as he narrated. So all three of them, they have similar way of narrating it. But this fourth guy here, he comes and he goes against their narration. Khalafahum, he opposes all three of them. So his hadith is munkar. And their hadith, the hadith that is correct, then it's referred to as ma'roof. So here the next terminology you have on the book, it says ma'roof. What is ma'roof? It's the opposite of munkar. The narration that is opposition, that is weak, is called munkar, and those that were correct is referred to as ma'roof.
Isn't that similar to, like, I think it was mufrad, where like one person goes against everyone else?
Mufrad is just one narrator. It doesn't go against anyone. Okay? Mufrad, it doesn't go against, it is no opposition. Shadh, I don't know if we took it before, but we'll take it right now. So what is shadh, and how is shadh different? Shadh is the same thing. Three narrators narrated it in a certain way, and one of them opposed. Shadh and munkar are the same with some of the scholars, like Imam Muslim and other than them. So here when he mentions munkar, he mentions that it can also have this meaning. The same as shadh, where one person goes against those that are stronger than him. Hafidh ibn Hajar, he mentions a specific definition, and I'll tell you his definition so you know the difference between the two. He says that munkar, stick with me, stop writing for 1 second, understand this. What is munkar? Hafidh ibn Hajar, he says the difference between shadh and munkar, first before that, some scholars they hold it to be the same. Shadh and munkar to be the same. That one person goes against those that are stronger than him, more trustworthy than him. He opposes them, so his hadith is munkar and shadh. There are those that differentiate between the two. What do they say? How is it different? Okay, Hafidh ibn Hajar says the munkar is the hadith that is narrated by a weak narrator. The narrator is weak. This narrator is weak, and he goes against those that are trustworthy. Okay, so what does shadh mean? With Hafidh ibn Hajar, the shadh is the hadith that is narrated by a trustworthy, a thiqah, by a trustworthy narrator. But this trustworthy narrator, shadda, he went against the majority, or those that are even more trustworthy than him. And so his hadith became shadh, even though he's trustworthy. Is he weak? No, he's strong. But it's possible that he makes a mistake. That one lesson, he wasn't on point, and he misheard, and he went against the majority and those that are stronger than him. So his hadith is referred to as shadh. So munkar is narrated by a weak narrator in the first place. Even if he was by himself, he's weak, we wouldn't accept it. But now he's weak, and he opposed, he went against. Then that's even worse. Hadith da'if is like here. So imagine hadith, we have authentic, we have hasan, we have da'if, we have a bunch of different hadith that are da'if, weak. Okay? We're going to learn later, but weak is possible, if there's a lot of weak ones from different chains of narration, it's possible that they go up a level to hasan. It's possible, with strict conditions and whatnot. But if a hadith is munkar, which is lower, there's a line. If you go past that line into very weak, it doesn't matter how many chains support you, you can never go up, you can never get stronger. Whereas if it's light weakness, it's possible that it goes to hasan. But anything under, so munkar. What else do we have that's under? Mawdu', ahsant, mawdu' is the bottom of the pile. Okay? Mawdu' is finished. What else? Matruk. And anything else that is similar to it. Munkar right now, what do you have that is referred to as munkar? He said the hadith that is narrated by who? Fasiq. Someone that is ghafil. Someone that is fahusha ghalatuhu. Someone that is an open sinner. Someone that is heedless. And someone that has too many mistakes. Those three, they're all referred to as munkar. And we also have the weak narrator that goes against the strong ones. So him being weak, he would have been here by himself. But because he did opposition alongside his weakness, his hadith became munkar. Now there's no way possible for it to get stronger. Is that clear? That's the benefit of knowing munkar from normal da'if.
See how it's 3v1 right now, right?
Say again?
See how it's 3 on the right hand side?
Yeah.
It's 3v1. Why is 2v2 or 1v1?
Okay, so we look at qara'in. Every hadith is different, and we look at indications. There's always indications that we look at. But as a general principle right now, if there is a trustworthy narrator, but there are those that are more trustworthy than him, then we give it, especially if there's 2 or 3 or 4, it doesn't matter how much their number is, they're more trustworthy than him, then it's given to them. Or it's 2 versus 2, we have to look for other indications. We can't look at now numbers, because they're the same. We have to look for other indications. Okay, who's the strongest narrator, or who's the strongest student of the shaykh? Then we look at the tabaqat, the levels of students. They put them into levels. This is the highest level of students. They're always present, they're always writing notes, they're always with the shaykh when he's traveling, when he's resident. They're highest caliber, and their position is top. Then we have a bit lower. They're strong, but they're not always with the shaykh. They only saw him 2-3 times. That's not the same as someone that was with him all the time. They've got tabaqat. So you look at which level is these 2 on, and those 2. These 2 are higher level, and they've got other supporting indicators. You have to look at the indicators, but that's a different topic, inshallah. This makes sense now for everyone? Sisters, any questions? Okay, ahsant. So, sister said you skipped line 31. As we said, we're going to go back to it. That's why we missed shadh and mahfuz. Okay, so now we've covered it. So the difference between shadh and munkar is clear. Now, we mentioned, what is ma'roof? Ma'roof, quickly. Opposite to munkar, ahsant. So this is munkar if he's a weak narrator, and this will be the hadith that is mahfuz. What's mahfuz? Mahfuz is the preserved version, the correct version. Okay? Then we have shadh, the hadith that is narrated by a thiqah, but he goes against those that are stronger than him. So his hadith is shadh and their hadith is mahfuz. Mahfuz. So mahfuz is the opposite of shadh and ma'roof is the opposite of munkar. Does that make sense? That's why they're mentioned together. So the incorrect version is shadh. The incorrect version is shadh and munkar, and the correct version is ma'roof and mahfuz. Make sense? Any questions?
So what is mahfuz?
So look, the opposite. So look, you have shadh, right? The opposite of shadh is mahfuz. Meaning, this narrator, he's strong, but he went against 1, 2, 3 that are stronger than him and they are more in number. So it's more likely he made a mistake. So his hadith is shadh. Shadda is to go astray. Not astray like misguided, but he went against the majority. So his narration is weak. Their narration is correct, right? The terminology they give for it in this scenario is هذا حديث معروف. This hadith is ma'roof, is well known. Ma'roof means well known. So the correct version against the shadh is ma'roof. Is that clear? Does it make sense? طيب. Okay, let's move on. Any questions before that? طيب, buckle up, inshallah. Buckle up. We got like a bit left, inshallah. وما به وهم خفي يعقل مع التأمل هو المعلل. He says, whatever has a hidden defect that can be figured out, then it is referred to as mu'allal. Then it is referred to as mu'allal. Okay, mu'allal, illa, is the 5th condition of Sahih. What was the 5th condition? The 5 conditions of authentic hadith. Quickly. You have to know this off by heart by now. Trustworthy. Precision. Anything else? It has no illah. Check if that's the taxi driver. I left my bag in the taxi.
Not sure.
It has, what did you say? It has no illah. That's the 5th one. And no shudud. Are we missing one? Ittisal al-sanad. That it has to be a connected chain. Okay, it has to be a connected chain. So those 5 conditions. The last one is no illah. It doesn't have no hidden defects. Now we're talking about hidden defects. What's a hidden defect? Okay. All right. So, when you have a hadith, when we have a hadith, let's say we have a text here, Sahabi, narrator, and then the one that authored. Okay, so this is by itself, right? When we see a hadith by itself, let's say it's in Jami' al-Tirmidhi, we look at it and we look at the narrators. Okay, this narrator, oh, he's trustworthy. Companions, all companions are trustworthy, and that's a text from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Outwardly, what does it look like? It looks like an authentic hadith. Why? Because everyone's trustworthy. But there's a hidden defect. If you look at it from one chain only and look at the apparent only, then it looks like it's an authentic hadith. Thiqa, 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 thiqa. Okay, all of them authentic. Looks all good to me. Sah? But there's a hidden defect. How do you find hidden defects? It's called jam'u turuq. This terminology here. You have to do jam' turuq, which is you get together all the different chains for this hadith. You're not allowed to grade and judge a hadith just by one apparent chain. If you do so, your grading is insufficient. Is that clear? So now imagine, let's take this off. And we say that hadith that we had right here is in the middle. Okay? And I've looked at all the books. I've done, what have I done? I''tibar, ahsant. I've done i'tibar, I've looked for supporting chains. So I found 1, 2, 3, 4 supporting chains. And this is the original text that I have in Tirmidhi. I found this in Ibn Majah, Darimi, some other book and another book. This is all that I could find. I've looked everywhere and these are all the chains that I could find. Now when I compare it, I find that there's a hidden defect. And it could be anything. For example, when I go back to the chains, I find that, mathalan, this narrator never met this narrator. This narrator here never met this narrator. And that everyone else narrated it. Sorry. That everyone else narrated it through a middle person. So see this level here. Where is it here? You with me? He skipped someone and he went above. Whereas everyone else that narrated it from that same narrator, they narrated it through a middleman before they go to this big person here. Is that clear? That's an example. Just show you what it can look like. When you look at other chains, you find that, actually this is a mistake. So this is referred to as a hadith that is mu'allal, that's got a hidden defect. There could be other problems. Sometimes it might not be apparent in the chain. Sometimes it might be like how it was originally, and it all looks like they're narrated from the same tabaqa and its own thiqat. But when you go back to the books, you have to look at the trustworthiness of every narrator and their precision. And if they all met, if the chain is connected. We go back to the books and we find, when we go to this narrator specifically, it says under his biography, Ibn Adi says in Al-Kamil, for example, or Al-Uqayli fi al-Du'afa, and other than them, and they focus on this specifically, they will say, so-and-so has a few ahadith that are weak, even though he's trustworthy. He's got a few ahadith that are weak. Or manakir. And from them is this hadith. He said that he narrated from this person, but he's missing someone, and they will specify that. Okay, so where did you find it? When you looked at the apparent chain, you didn't see it. But when you go back to the books of Jarh wa Ta'dil, the statements of the scholars of that time, they mention a illah, they mention there's a hidden defect here. Is that clear? So there's a disconnection here. So look, is munqati' sah? No problem. Or it can be mu'allaq later, or it can be something else, no problem. But was it apparent? Like, did we see it from the get-go? No, it was hidden. We had to do jam'u turuq, then we found that mistake. So good point. So the brother says, isn't that muqati'? We say, yes, it is. It can be something else as well. But how do you get to that? Through jam'u turuq that we said earlier. What does jam'u turuq mean? gathering the different chains together in one place so you can have a bird's eye view, and then studying the speech of the scholars of each narrator. And then there are other books of ilal al-Tariqutni, ilal ibn Abi Hatim, and other than that, where they talk about a hadith that have hidden illas in it. Is that clear? This chapter here, or this topic terminology, al-ilal, is the hardest of the levels in the books of Mustalah al-Hadith. Because something could look outwardly apparently authentic, but someone that has vast knowledge, especially back in the day. Remember, now we've got a computer, we can go check it, and we have all the different chains in front of us in an hour, let's say. Or let's say it takes very long, it takes you a day or 2 or 3 to do it. Back in the day, you don't have no computer helping you. Forget back in the day. Sheikh Albani, who died 25 years ago, when he was grading a hadith, he would be doing it through books. He had to go through books, not published books like we have today, mashallah, printed, nice and easy to read. Manuscripts, old manuscripts that were written 800 years ago, 900 years ago. And he would have to flip page by page to find the hadith in the first place. Just to get to this stage of having 5 chains, he would go through days perhaps. And then the grading, and then looking at the speech of the scholars and the likes of this. So this is the hardest level. Imam al-Tariqutni, he wrote a book. Today it's published, and it's 10 volumes. Imam al-Dhahabi said that one of the students of al-Tariqutni said that he wrote these ilal, and he's mentioning hidden defects in thousands of ahadith, in the tens or hundreds of thousands. And it's mentioned that he did that all from the top of his head. No books, no computer, from the top of his head. Imam al-Dhahabi said, if that is correct, that narration that he narrated all of this from the top of his head, amlahu min hifdhihi, then he is Imam al-Dunya. He is the Imam of the world. And if he did some of it from his head and some of it from the books, then he is still a great memorizer. But there's others like him, like Bukhari, maybe Hatim, and others than that. So ilal or mu'allal, this chapter of mu'allal is the hardest level, and this is where the ulama of the fan really stand out. Okay, there are great books in this topic. Sharh Ilal al-Tirmidhi by Imam Ibn Rajab and others than him. طيب, everyone good on that? Ahsant. Is the illah always munqati' or can be something different? It can be anything. The main thing is hidden, and the way it's uncovered is through jam'u turuq, and you have to look through the books and the statements of the scholars and the likes. It's not something that is easy to catch. طيب. Let me know when you guys are tired. Continue. The early brothers. Continue. You guys good, yeah? He's already in, inshallah. طيب. Sisters, if it gets too late, message us, inshallah, and then we can stop. Okay. طيب. He says, وما به اختلاف متن أو سند مضطرب إن لم يبن ما يعتمد المدرج الذي أتى في سنده أو متنه ما ليس منه فاقتده. He says, مضطرب, the next terminology is مضطرب. مضطرب is something that there's so much differing in it, it's hard to even come to a conclusion on what's correct from what's not. There's so much differing in the chain or in the text that it gives us a feeling, an indication that the narrators, they weren't precise in it. And so the hadith is da'if, weak because of that. It's muttarib. Muttarib is something that is not, that goes against each other, if you like, or it's, if you don't know the word for it in English. But it is another categorization and terminology for weak hadith. So, imagine a hadith is narrated. For example, the hadith that Hafiz al-Tariqutni said about is muttarib. شَيَّبَتْنِي هُودٌ وَأَخَوَاتُهَا. That the Prophet ﷺ said that Surah Hud and its sisters has made it has made my hair grey. شَيَّبَتْنِ Hud. That Surah Hud, it made my hairs grey, and the sisters of Surah Hud. It was narrated by so many different narrators in different form and different ways that Imam al-Daraqutni said this hadith is مضطرب. Whereas the other hadith were able to sieve out, okay, this person, he narrated it like this and he went against the majority. Clear, right? But here we have 5 people narrated like this, 5 people narrated like this, and then maybe another 5 narrated another way. And they're all weak or close to weak. Which shows us none of them really did precision on that hadith. And the hadith is muttarib. So the hadith is da'if. Is that clear? Does that make sense? So it's been so much differing in the text or the matan that the hadith is da'if. And this category, there's not many examples in it. Imam al-Daraqutni says, Shaybatni Hudun wa akhawatuha. There's maybe 1 or 2 other examples that they mentioned, but there's not many examples like this. Which shows you most hadith that it's either authentic, and the ulama have mentioned it, or it's weak, and the weakness has been made very clear. طيب, al-mudraj. The next one is al-mudraj. Al-mudraj is that something else enters into either the chain that's not from the chain or into the text that's not from the text. So, for example, al-mudraj. What is al-mudraj? Okay, let's say all of these narrators, 4 narrators, they mentioned the hadith from this narrator, from the Sahabi, from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Say sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But in one version, the way that it's narrated here, there is something added extra, either in the sanad, in the chain that's not from it, or in the actual text. So let's say in the chain. In the chain, instead of narrating it from this tabi'i, from the Sahabi, he adds another narrator. And then from the Sahabi. So he's added an extra narrator where the rest of them, they haven't added him. Okay? They mention this in al-mudraj. Or usually it takes place in بالمثال تتضح المقال. With examples it becomes clearer, but we don't want to get into it too much because this is the basic level. We just want to know what the word means. Let's start with mudraj al-matan, which is easy. Mudraj al-matan is that we add in the text something that is not from it. So we have, for example, a hadith that mentions that the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned the virtue of wudu. So the text mentions the virtue of it. But then the companion, in this hadith, specific hadith by Abu Hurairah, he adds something from himself. Then the narrator from the Sahabi, he thinks that this Sahabi narrated all of it from the Prophet ﷺ. You guys with me? He thinks that the whole text from the beginning to the end is from the Prophet ﷺ. لولا الجهاد وبر أمي, like the text that mentions, if it was not for jihad and being dutiful to my mother, then such and such, to the end of the hadith. The whole text, the way it's narrated, it looks like the whole hadith is from the Prophet ﷺ. But we know there's idraj in it. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ's mother was deceased. She passed away when he was only 6 years old. So how can it be jihad and dutiful to his mother that's preventing him from this thing or wishing for this thing? And so we know that the first part is from the Prophet ﷺ, but the last part, which mentions the mother, is from the companion, or sometimes someone that is lower. So we have, for example, the first hadith, one of the first hadith in Bukhari, how did the wahi and the revelation begin? And Aisha mentions the story of how the Prophet ﷺ, for 6 months he used to go up into the mountain and the cave, and كان يتحنث. She says كان يتحنث, but then straight after it says أي يتعبد. يتحنث meaning worship. يتعبد, is that the statement of Aisha? No. Is it the statement of the Prophet ﷺ? No. It's the statement of one of the narrators explaining that word, and they say that it's Imam al-Zuhri, Mahamed ibn Shihab al-Zuhri. He added this extra word يتعبد to clarify the meaning of يتحنث. So that is considered mudraj. Is that clear?
How about if there's adding to the matan but in the meaning is not different? Is that also mudraj?
Anything that is added to the matan that is not from it. If he's narrating by meaning, that's different. As long as it doesn't change the meaning. That's riwaya bil ma'na, that's another topic. But right now we're saying he adds another whole new topic to it, or adds something. He's actually saying it from himself, maybe the Sahabi. But the narrator misunderstands and he makes it as part of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. How do we know it's not part of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ? By other chains of narration or other hadith that are similar to it that show that there's a separation between the two. Likewise, the chain, that's a bit confusing now, that there will be, for example, a narrator that mentions a tariq from 3. He will say, for example, how do we do this? Okay, yes, okay. Okay. They have students. So from the Sahabi, there are 3 students, right? They all narrate the same text. Did this narrator take from these 2 narrators in this chain? No. He only took from his teacher. And that teacher took from the companion. Is that clear? Guys with me? He took from his teacher, he took from the companion. Another path, he took from his teacher, took from the companion. These, they didn't take from the other teachers. Sah? One of the students, so let's say this student here, he mentions from his teacher that he narrated from number 1, 2, and 3. And then he mentions the text. What did he do? He added to this chain that was separate, he added the other 2 together as if this student narrator narrated from all 3 from the Sahabi. He did idraj, he merged them together. Does that make sense? That's mudraj al-isnad. How do we know that's incorrect? We look at all the other chains, everyone else didn't do it. And sometimes you might have a chain that goes into even more detail and says there are 3 narrators, all of them separate. This one narrated it this way, this one narrated it this way, this one narrated it this way. So they separate it out and don't merge it together. That merging is called idraj. Sometimes it can have it doesn't have a big bearing, but that's not how the narration is. Any questions?
Is it done to like strengthen the...
Wallahi, usually there's a few instances and it's just the way that it was, the siyagh, the way it was done is wrong. Or he thought they all narrated it and he just thought, let me summarize and put it all together. But then it comes out in a wrong form.
So when it comes into the text, so if it doesn't go against it, say a Sahabi is adding like additional wording, is that considered idraj?
So if the Sahabi adds something, he doesn't say this is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. He said the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, then he might add something extra from himself. The narrator or other narrators down the line might get confused and think it was together. So for example, one of the instances it mentions that a student came late and he just heard that last half, for example, and he thought all of it's from the Prophet ﷺ. وهكذا. So there's ways of it, but it's sieved out so that someone else doesn't think that this is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. So that's why it's called mudraj. So that part to say it's from the Prophet ﷺ is weak. That's not the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is this, and this part here is from the Sahabi or someone lower than the Sahabi. That's not considered hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So look how much diqqah they have in making a distinction between that which is from the Prophet ﷺ and that which is not from him. Okay, the green pen is hard to see when writing on the board. I won't use it again, inshallah. How is maze different to mudraj? Mazid. Ahsant. The last one will make more sense. How all three are added together. They have narrated it. They're not actually extra, but they haven't narrated it in this form. Whereas mazid, you've added a narrator that hasn't even narrated this hadith in the first place. He has no place in this hadith, and you've added him to it. So that's the difference between the two. Mudraj, they actually do exist, but not in that form. طيب. Continue or we stop? Stop. Sisters, stop or continue? We can do, if you guys want, we can do next Thursday after Taraweeh. But طبعا you guys been fasting, praying Taraweeh, I don't know how the focus is going to be. Or we can just finish the book now. Finish it now. Sisters? طيب. Let's see what the sisters say. It's not fair as well. Sisters, write on the thing. Do you guys want to continue or not? Finish. خلاص. No one complain, yeah? والثابت المقبول إن هو سلم من المعارض فبالمحكم سم وحيث لا والجمع فيه يحتذى فإنه مختلف الحديث ذا وحيث لا وعرف التاريخ فذلك الناسخ والمنسوخ. Here the next three lines are all connected together, and I don't think we need to stand up for this. This is easy, inshallah ta'ala. Inshallah. He says, look, there's different types of a hadith. There's a hadith that there's no ishkal, there's no problem with it. It doesn't go against any other hadith. It doesn't look like there's a contradiction. It's clear cut. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّةِ, for example. It's clear cut. Is there any problem with it? Has anyone got issue with it? Can anyone think of another hadith that it goes against? No, sah? طيب, this is called, when a hadith is like this and is clear cut and there's no problems with it, it's called al-muhkam. Salima min al-mu'arada. It is free from any contradiction or any, even thinking of there is a contradiction maybe. This is called al-muhkam. Al-muhkam. Then he says, وَحَيْثُ لَا وَالْجَمْعُ فِيهِ يُحْتَذَى. As for if it has some outward contradiction, like outwardly it looks like this hadith goes against this hadith. Outwardly. If you wish just to look at it at face value, it looks like this hadith goes against this hadith. This hadith says, don't do this, and this hadith says, you're allowed to do it. So how do we put them together? Putting it together is called, and it's possible to put it together, then we call it mukhtalaf al-hadith. Outwardly it looks like it's a contradiction, but in reality there is a way to put it together. So for example, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she says that the Prophet sallallahu yarhamukallah, he never qada hajat, he never used the toilet, urinated while standing, ever. Aisha said this. It's a hadith. It's talking about the action of the Prophet ﷺ. And then there's another hadith where the Sahaba say, yes, the Prophet ﷺ, many times he in travel and outside, he used the toilet standing up. He urinated standing up. Like this, Aisha says he's never done it. And there's a number of Sahaba saying they did do it. How do you put it together? Outwardly, it looks like what? Contradiction. But then, is it possible to put jami'? Yes, it's possible. That Aisha saw him inside the house. He never used the toilet standing up, urinating, standing up when he was in the house. He would always crouch down, sitting. Whereas when he's outside and he's traveling and maybe Aisha was not present and the other male Sahabas were with him in a battle or the likes, then the Prophet ﷺ would do it standing up. So is it possible to put them together? Yes. Is there any contradiction? No contradiction. This is for a hala and this is for another hala. And which also shows you that it's, the person's at home, they should always use it sitting down. And the asal and the better is to sit down. But if there's a need, when you're traveling or the likes, that is allowed to do standing up. This is called mukhtalaf al-hadith. And Imam al-Tahawi and other than them, Ibn Khuzaymah, they specialized in this field. To the extent that Ibn Khuzaymah said, bring me any hadith, any two hadith that you think is a contradiction, and I will أُؤَلِّفْ بَيْنَهُمَا, and I will bring harmony between them. Because like Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah mentions and others, it's impossible that any evidence that is authentic, hadith that's authentic goes against the ayah, or two hadiths that are authentic goes against each other. There's no contradiction in the Sharia because it's from one source. In fact, he goes even further that it's impossible for any evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah to go against the sound intellect. Condition that is a sound intellect, not a corrupt intellect. And that the evidence is authentic and not weak. Okay? So it's called mukhtalif al-hadith. Things that people think is a contradiction, but it's not actually a contradiction. This is established for this. And this goes on to, in accordance to usually a person's knowledge. The more a person has knowledge, then the more they will know about this affair of when hadith is, how it can be brought together.
What was the name for when a hadith goes against another? Do you say?
So mu'arada means if there's a outward contradiction. So let's get rid of this for a second. Okay, so we have al-mu'arada. We have a outward apparent contradiction. Outwardly, apparently, it looks like a contradiction. طيب. If we're able to do, number one, if we're able to do jam'a, if we're able to do jam'a, yani bring harmony between them, then it is referred to as al-muhkam. Then it's referred to as al-muhkam. Then it's referred to as al-muhkam. طيب. So jama' means to bring harmony between them. This is in this situation, this is in this situation. Okay. Number two, it's not possible. One second. Al-jama' is called muhkam, right? Then we said, oh, sorry. I made a mistake. What's the mistake? No one noticed. What's the mistake?
Muhkam is when it's no contradiction.
Ahsant. Muhkam is not when you can do harmony. Muhkam is salima. It's free from any mu'arada. It's free from any mu'arada, outward contradiction. Ahsant. Is that clear? With me? There's mu'arada here. The first level is it's salim. It's free from any outward contradiction. It's clear. So it's called muhkam. We act upon it straight away. Then we have the second level, which is there is some outward contradiction. But it's possible to do jam'a. It's possible to bring them together and bring harmony between them. Then this is referred to as mukhtalaf al-hadith. Mukhtalaf al-hadith. Okay. And the third is that clear so far? Any questions on that? Sisters, any questions? Okay. Number 3. Let's hurry up quickly. Salima jam' ulima at-tarikh. The third level is there is some outward contradiction. It's not easy to do jam'a. It's not easy to bring harmony between them. But we know that the dates when it was revealed. This was revealed at the beginning of Islam. This was revealed at the end of Islam, for example. Okay, we know the dates. What do we do then? If we know the date, then it is referred to as الناسخ والمنسوخ. الناسخ والمنسوخ. What does that mean? That the later date, the thing that came after, is the abrogator. And the thing that came first is being abrogated now, it's been moved on from. We don't act upon the mansukh, the thing that was old, that was first revealed. We act upon the last thing that took over it. الناسخ والمنسوخ. For example, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, كنت نهيتكم عن زيارة القبور. I used to prohibit you from visiting the cemetery, the graveyards. Prophet ﷺ used to prohibit it. He mentions, how do we know he used to prohibit it? He said it, كنت, I used to. Lekin now I tell you, go and visit, because it reminds you of the hereafter. Go and visit because it reminds you of the hereafter. So now we know there was a prohibition, then there was permissibility. Which one came first? The prohibition. And the last thing, an-nasikh, was the permissibility. So now we act upon it. Is that clear? So these are the three stages. It's possible that there's a fourth stage, and this depends on from person to person, which is they have, it's not salim from mu'arada, it's not possible to do harmony, and you don't have knowledge of the dates when it was revealed or the likes. So what do you do? At-tawaqquf. At-tawaqquf. Some of the ulama mentioned tawaqquf, there's something else, but we're not going to mention it right now. طيب, tawaqquf, does that mean that no one else can know about it? No, there's another scholar that can that has more knowledge, or that finds other paths, that is able to bring about something different. طيب, another conclusion, I mean. طيب, then he says, the rest is easy, inshallah ta'ala, we'll fly through the rest, inshallah. Ubashirkum, give me 5-10 minutes, we'd finished. ثم غريب اللفظ ما يحتاج في معناه للغة إذ لم يؤلف. He says the next terminology is غريب اللفظ. غريب اللفظ. غريب الحديث. غريب is a word in the Arabic language that is not well known for everyone. It's not well known to everyone. So what does this word exactly mean? Strange word, obscure word. The meaning of this is, in the field of hadith, is referred to as gharib. Strange, obscure, not well known. So you need the books of the Arabic language to tell you the meaning of this. And ulama have authored books on this topic, gharib al-hadith. Those words that are gharib in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and then they explain it. So this word here in this hadith, it means such and such. This word here in this hadith means such and such. Gharib al-hadith. Clear? Any questions on that? I think that's easy. واضح? So this is a terminology that's important. If you come across a hadith, you don't know the meaning, you go back to the books of gharib. And sometimes they mention in the books of shuruhat, explanations, like the explanation of Imam al-Nawawi for Sharh Muslim, or Hafiz ibn Hajar, or any other explanation from the explanations of hadith. Especially today, the contemporary scholars, they mention that a lot, like Shaykh Abdullah Fawzan in Minhat al-Allam, and Rawdat al-Afham, the explanation of Bulugh al-Maram, and the extra hadith in Muharrar. He starts on the explanation of the biography of the Sahabi, then he works on Gharib al-Hadith, any strange words. And then he goes into the general meaning of the hadith. Then he says, وَإِنْ يَكُنْ يَغْمُضُ مِنْ مَعْنَاهُ لَا مِنْ لَفْظِهِ فَهُوَ الْمُسَمَّى مُشْكِلًا. If the meaning of it is obscure and not the wording, then it's referred to as mushkil. It's referred to as mushkil, so it's similar to the previous one. Then he says, ما غير النقد به المصحف وإن يكن في الشكل فالمحرف. Quickly, if there's a okay, Can't think of anything right now. Okay, let's think. Okay. Can't think of anything. Al-Muhim, the idea of it is, if there's a word in the Arabic language that has, it's a name, but if you was to write that name, let's say someone was called Khair. If we was to take off the nutq or the nuqat, the dots, what can you read it as well? Huh? Khubs, but that's not probably going to be someone's name. But you get the idea. Let's say someone was called Khubs or Habar. Habar is someone that has a lot of knowledge. Like they used to use it for rabbi in the previous scholars of the people of the book. So here there's no nutq or nuqat, dots. It's possible to read it wrong. If you read it wrong, the narrator's called Khair, but you call him Habar. Then this is referred to as musahaf. You've changed it from the way it's supposed to be to something else. Okay? Why? Just because of the dots, the way you read it. And there's books on this. All the names that are musahafa. This one's called this, but they called him this. This is a mistake. His actual name is this. Yeah? This is usually in the chain. This is usually in the chain because it's the narrators. Then we have, this is just the dots, right? Then we have, if there's a difference here in the actual shakl, they added an extra letter. This was khair, this is khabir. Okay? So we're not worried about the dot now. We're worried about the shakl. Or something else that is similar to it, but it's not to do with the dots. It's to do with actual shakl. Then is referred to as muharraf. Okay? So let's say they changed one letter to another letter. They didn't change the dot. They changed the whole letter to another letter. So instead of ha, they changed it to something else. Okay. Any questions? Is that clear? طيب, line number 50. We're nearly there. It's only 52. 53. He says, وَالْمُبْهَمُ الَّذِي بِمَتْنٍ أَوْ سَنَدٍ بِتَرْكِ تَعْيِينٍ مَذْكُورٍ وَرَدٍ. We already mentioned mubham before. What's mubham? Huh?
The person is not mentioned. It's called like the person in the chain can be like just manageable person. Like trustworthy person.
I know what you're saying, but better definition. Huh?
To not use someone's name, but instead call them like a man or trustworthy man.
Ahsant. So we use a word that is general. So we say a man narrated. We never mention his name. A man narrated. A woman narrated. A scholar narrated. This is all mubham. They didn't mention the name. What was the thing that was similar to it that we mentioned previously? This is mubham. What did we mention last time? Sisters, what was the word that was similar to it that we mentioned last time? Mubham, or similar to a mubham. Okay, excellent. Let's see if the sisters get it, any of the sisters. Muhmal, ahsant. Like one of the sisters got muhmal. Mublas, no, muhmal. We're gonna put a book downstairs, and then the person that said muhmal can get that book, inshallah. طيب, we missed one. One of the sisters mentioned it. The brothers are sleeping. We missed maqloob. Why don't you guys tell me? Let's go back to maqloob at the end, inshallah. It is the last one actually, huh?
Isn't it too contradicting hadith?
Say again?
Isn't it just too contradicting hadith?
No. Al-Muttarib, we mentioned that there's too much contradictions in the chain or the matan. Maqloob is different. Maqloob is, and we forgot to mention this line number 43. Maqloob, he says, وَإِن يَكُنْ بُدِّلَ رَاوٍ أَوْ سَنَدٍ فَهُوَ مَقْلُوبٌ وَفِي الْمَتْنِ وَرَدٍ. Maqloob is that you change something in the chain, the order of it. قَلَبَ. Qalb. What's qalb? Qalb is heart. Why was the heart called qalb? لأنه يكثر التقلب. because it constantly changes. It flips. It goes this way, this way. It can be guided today. Tomorrow it could be misguided. Someone could be misguided, be guided. Al-qulubu bayna the two fingers of Ar-Rahman. The hearts are between the two fingers of Ar-Rahman. يُقَلِّبُهَا كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ. Allah Azza wa Jal changes it as He wishes. So maqlub is what? Maqlub is here something that the order has been changed, for example. So for example, it's Kathir ibn Qais. They say Qais ibn Kathir. قَلَبَ اسمه. Or the chain is like this order. There's a qalb that occurred to it. Or the hadith itself, the text. So we talked about the chain. The hadith itself, the text has qalb in it. The hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, all of them narrated it in this order. But one person came وَقَلَبَهُ, and he changed the order of it, or a specific part of it. For example, the famous hadith, سَبْعَةٌ يُظِلُّهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّهِ يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّهُ. That 7 will be shaded on that day when there's no shade except for the shade of Allah, the shade that Allah Azza wa Jalla makes on that day. And then mention the 7 types. One of them is وَرَجُلٌ تَصَدَّقَ بِيَمِينِهِ. A man that gives charity with his right up until his left doesn't even know what the right gave. There's a narration that mentions the qalb occurred. There's a narration that mentions that he gives with his left, so much so that his right doesn't know. Is that clear? And ulama mentioned this under the category of maqlub. That narrator, he switched it around. Everyone else said the right, and the left doesn't know what the right gave. But he said what? The left gives, and the right doesn't know what the left gave. So this is maqlub. Is that clear? Easy, inshallah. Maqlub. With that, we go to 51. وقد تناهت طرفة من الطرف آخذة من المهم بطرف. He says, with that we have finished a part of this book, this topic of science of hadith, taking the most important terminologies. مختومة بحمد من سناها سنية يجلو الدجى سناها. مختومة الصلاة والسلام على الذي اصطفي للختام. Then he ends and concludes by sending peace and blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa asahbihi ajma'in.